Buenos días, Buenos Aires. Como vos sabés, yo soy brasileño, pero yo no hablo español, mi portuñol es una mierda. So I'm going to give this presentation in English. If you're way more comfortable talking in English than in Spanish. I'm going to talk about old school hacking, like the presentation, as you can see, its name is the wayback machine, old school hacking. And like, you gotta be wondering, what the hell is old school hacking? What is this guy gonna talk about here? I'm gonna talk about ancient ways to breach into computer systems. Many of the methods described here were developed back in the 80s. Yet, we're gonna show that they're still effective. The history of this presentation, it was like, I was watching the movie War Games, like such a classic. And after watching it for the, I don't know, 1000th time or something, I realized that, oh, like, what if these things, they still work today? And you're gonna see the rest of here. Here are our agenda, the main goals for of this presentation. We're going to talk about war dialing, X25 hacking, a little bit about dumpster diving and social engineering. Here then the acknowledgements, reference links, and all the stuff. Main goals. The objective of this presentation is to approach some of these forgotten but important topics regarding computer security. And like, how can I say, the actual main goal is to satisfy nostalgic guys just like me with these old school tricks and make hackers and system administrator happy with real stories incidents as well. And show this so-called obsolete hacking techniques are not that obsolete, they still work. And to demonstrate the same links, the same weak links of 25 or 20 years ago, they still exist nowadays. War dialing the search for Protovision. If you've seen the movie War Games, you remember Protovision is the fictional company, like the game company that Dave Blackman tries to break into, but he reaches the NORAD computer and, well. War dialing is the automated process of dialing sequentially or randomly large blocks of telephone numbers. And its main purpose is to find modems and how can I say, other telephone equipment, attached to the other end of the line. Okay, and it's considered obsolete since the early 90s. Initially, it was used to look for PAP access with default passwords or with no passwords at all. Its main purpose was to find the systems that acted like diverters. And systems that act like diverters, I don't know if you know. Like it gave you a dial tone, so you could make free phone calls, especially long distance calls. And this phone scanning became a phenomenon back in, actually after the movie War Games. It was released in 1983. And I think this movie was like, the movie created computer hacking, at least for lots of many people. It was the favorite game of ancient hackers, just like me, just kidding. And the hardcore freaking is a direct consequence of war dialing. By hardcore freaking, I mean like actual phone freaking, not whistling on the phone to make freak phone calls just like Captain Crunch. I mean really hacking phone switches and hardcore stuff. Is it okay talking in English like this fast? Can you guys understand? Okay. Some legal questions. In some states of the United States, I think it's in Colorado, war dialing is considered a crime as trespassing because they say if you don't have the intent to communicate using a phone system, you're breaking the law. Like, it's quite weird. I don't know. Apparently in Brazil, there's no law to forbid it. Actually in Brazil there's no law at all. And who the hell cares? And word dialing itself, it cannot be considered as harassment or disturbance because the number is dialed only once. So your phone of the other guy and the guy at the other end, it will ring only once. So it's not disturbance. Okay, you wake up him at 1 a.m. or something, but no, it's okay. Only one ring, man. And advanced phone switches, they're capable to detect word dialing activity. Thank God the exchange that serves my area, it doesn't. Famous incidents of word dialing, it was the slingshot for the Yahoo defacement back in 1997. At least it's the gossip in the underground. It's not official. Ring Bauer has it back. The Worcester Country Airport and nearby residences, communications cut off in 1997 too. Was a year of dialing probably. And unauthorized access to high voltage power management system in Oakland, in California, and probably many others, but I have just listed these ones, like the ones that I remember. Word dialing Brazil, tools and hardware used. For tools, I use a Tomlock by Manotrack and Multimas. It's the best word dialer software by far. Even better than commercial ones, the fancy ones with all these fancy options. No, forget about them. Tomlock will get the job fine. And Telemate by Red River Software as a terminal software. It could be hyper-terminal, but like it's more old school, so I decided to use it. And hardware, I use it like my shitty computer, but in 486 it could do the same task without any problems, like running DOS and 6.22 or something. It would work fine. I use it in a fun line, of course. Not of course. We could do it with ISDN line, but it's another story. And US Robotics, like a very, 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 very professional and good modem. This one is US Robotics Go here, everything. Because this modem is, as I said previously, it's a very professional modem. So it's able to detect all kind of tones, and it's able to detect carriers. It's able to detect loops. It's able to detect if the other end is busy, if it's ringing. Like it does everything. And compare it to these PCI modems, these cheap ones. They suck so bad for doing word dialing. I'll tell you later why. The methodology, I changed my service to like a minute rate because it provided free call throughout, like from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I harassed so many people. And common numbers, they had 20 seconds timeout and a ring out of 3. Ring timeout of 3. It means, but it worked only for the US Robotics modem. The PCI one I was using previously, it just ignored this ring out. I don't know why. Now, I know why, because it was cheap. And top 3 numbers, they had a timeout of 40 seconds. Why 40 seconds? Because, of course, top 3 numbers, they are bigger. So they take a little bit longer to dial, and the switch communication or something, it delays a little bit more. So 40 seconds timeout, it's okay to perform it. With a 5 as a ring out value. And the maximum dialing speed was set for common numbers. It didn't work for top 3 numbers. I mean, the maximum touchdown registered speed, but almost maximum it worked fine. If you set it up in the maximum, you get a fast busy signal. So just delayed a little bit, but it will work fine. Here's an attack scenario for a common attack scenario in word dialing stuff. I think it's self-explanatory or something. Looking at it. The attacker tries to communicate, for example, you have the internet, you have a router, a firewall, but the attacker is using the PSTN, I mean the phone system through modem to communicate to the server. And he's going to bypass like the whole firewall and other stuff infrastructure. As some results, I got lots of wide open routers, routers with default passwords or no passwords at all sometimes, and lots of P2P connections that most of them didn't require any kind of authentication, and some of them led me straight forward into internet. Like it's straightforward, but I mean straightforward. Like you get an IP address, you can ping. You get an internal IP address, you can ping machines, and all the stuff. I got some phone switches as well, faxes and other telephone stuff. Lots of looking prompts, and one was very, very interesting. It was a state-run lottery in a big state in Brazil, and the machine, it had some kind of a banner, like blah 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 dot lottery, I won't say its name, .com, and the machine wasn't accessible through the internet, but you can reach it by modem. Wants to be a millionaire. I even thought of BBS. They're very rare in Brazil now. As a picture is worth 1,000 words, here's the screenshot for a telephone switch. It's a Vectra model. It's a national switch, and as far as I can tell, this switch it controls 10,000 phone lines or something in a very big state in Brazil. It's I think it controls toll-free lines there, but no intrusive techniques were applied. I'm not a criminal. No, believe me, I didn't break into it. What is it to a threat? In many cases, you can find like telnet-like prompts, telephone switches, which are very, very nice to play with. Dial-up servers with weak passwords, voicemail boxes, lots of unattended and legacy systems like VMS, like Linux running kernel 2.0 or something, misconfigured routers, faxes, PIBXs, ISDN, and lots of weird telephone equipment. Internal computers not reachable from the internet, confidential and internal numbers as well. And the future trends of word dialing, if there's a future for it. VoIP-based word dialing tools such as these ones described here. iWarp actually performs common word dial too with phone, but it has the capability of using IAX2 and all these VoIP protocols. Skydiver by Legion, it's I don't know, it's some kind of, not a plugin, but it uses the Skype API. It's written in C#. Use the Skype API to perform word dialing. And scanning digital lines with ISDN devices. These softwares, I never used them because I don't have the money to afford ISDN. The Steam app and Pulse, both made by German companies or German people. Probably because ISDN is pretty cheap there. It's not the case in Brazil. And as countermeasures, do not allow internal numbers to dial, external numbers to dial into your numbers. Like there is some kind of, at least I saw some commercial telephone firewalls. Probably, yes, there are commercial. I don't know how much they cost, but there are these kinds of firewalls for telephones too. Record all your incoming calls. Turn on dial-back feature on modems that support it. Like it's gonna dial back to a fixed number. When it rings, it will dial back to a fixed number. So, well, actually, dial-back schemes, they can be bypassed, but it's not that easy. and I never did it. And some features in PABX, they can detect scanning. There's some kind of PBX signature. I mean, there's some kind of software that can analyze the software, the PBX logs to detect war dial activity. Use the most mysterious banners or remove them. Like, do not greet the attacker. Hey, it's my system, blah, blah, blah. No. If there is really the need to leave your modems available to anyone, make sure your passwords are not to be defeated. X25 playing around with packet switching network. X25 is a set of protocols developed back in the 60s by some company, Redco or something. It's similar using to the model using PSTNs, I mean, the common telephone system. It was the first kind of network to reach the global scale, but it lost its popularity when the internet became mainstream. It is still in use by large corporations and governments. And yes, it's true. Many governments, especially in third world countries, I mean, in all countries like Russia and stuff, they're still using a lot X25. Here's a little bit information, basic information about X25. The communication is based on those circuits. They can be switched or permanent. The main difference between them is that, is the signaling. The permanent doesn't need a call. How can I say? It doesn't need the call signaling, while the other one needs. It's the basic. That's the main difference between them. And protocol is connection oriented, so communication is reliable. Each subscriber is assigned to a network user address, a Unicode with logic channels. This network user address is equivalent to the IP address in IP-based networks, in internet networks. And NUE is like network user identification. And it's equivalent to the user password pair on dial-up systems or PPP. And they are used on X28 flag. Billing, it's based on the amount of traffic transferred. And sometimes reverse charge, like who is being called, he will pay the call. Sometimes it's possible. Maximum transmission speed is, I cannot say numbers in English, I'm sorry. 64. 64, yes. I can, 128 bytes. I cannot say numbers in English, it sucks. To dial into nodes belonging to other networks, you need to prepare a 0 or 9 before the NUA with the unique and other stuff. User facilities provide reverse charging, mnemonics, path profiling, and other stuff. Here are the core network elements. The data terminal equipment, it's like the endpoint of the network. By endpoint, I mean your computer, your terminal. The data, yes, and the other end terminal as well. The data circuit terminal equipment, or DCE, is the equipment used in the actual communication. By meaning modems, like packet switching modems and routers and all the stuff. And packet assembler is a full-featured protocol converter. By this, I mean it's some kind of, how can I say? It integrates a computer that doesn't have X25 capabilities or pad software with the X25 network. Lots of numbers. I don't know, addressing format for X25 network. We've got the unique data. I can remember this acronym. what it means, but it can be split up in two others. Call it the DCCs, the data country code. 724 is the Brazilian code, data country code in international networks. I don't remember I don't know the code for Argentina. Oh, cool. All I know is your network name is RPAC, isn't it? RPAC. It's all I know about X25 networks here. And you got a network identifier. This one is for RENPAC, but unfortunately all the others are dead and gone in Brazil. We've got only RENPAC. We've got the CPAC, run by Telemar, but it has been like swallowed into RENPAC now. And that's the terminal number, the RENPAC Passport Center, like this, just to illustrate. And here's like the call setup, how it's performed in switched virtual circuits. So like you make a call request and the router says, oh, incoming call. Oh, okay, I want to accept the call. Then it connects the call. You call clearly too. Like it's a split. Okay. And you can make like a subnet in X25 network as well. So like there's not much to say. Like they're so beautiful, you can understand perfectly. So it's connected to the X25 cloud, then connects to the router and this. Yes, the subnet computers. So there's not much to say about it. And the X25 bad messages. There are tons of messages that say the number you're trying to reach is busy. No, it's accepted the connection. No, there was an error. And they are very, very valuable information for people that want to perform scanning on X25 networks. And how to access packet switched networks? Mainly, we can access them through leased lines, like direct connection to an X25 pad. It's always identified. It's with password like. You can have public dial-up access. You dial into the X28 pad, just like when we exit internet back in, I don't know, a few years ago. You dial into something, you give out your password, and you're logging a password, then it authenticates you. It can be identified or not, actually. But no identified connections, they lack some capabilities. I'll tell later. And X25 over IP, it's XOT. It's referred on this RFC. I cannot say the number. And in theory, the router's XOT capabilities, they can be reached from the internet without any problems. And the security slacks. There's no authentication at all. So you can craft your own XOT scanner. I can't remember the port right now. If I remember, I cannot say the number. But so you can craft your own port scanner for XOT and craft your own XOT software to communicate on X25 networks, and without any costs, any telephone pulses, and it's cool because I spent so much money doing this shit. A little bit like security consideration X25 networks. Threats to PSNs, they have been neglected for years, and security aspects were not involved. Involved in the days of its peak of popularity, when people didn't have much security in mind back in the 80s. It was working fine, okay. And network tapping, information traps in networks are subject to many types of attacks, like data forgery, tampering, and all that stuff. And eavesdropping forgery, they can be applied nearly to every network medium, and it happens to X25 as well. There are lots of tools to perform sniffing on X25 networks. Well, not lots of tools. I think Wireshark does it well, and other proprietary commercial softwares, they can do it perfectly. Network user identification brute forcing. To travel through all networks, including international ones, and in fact, he must be identified. As I said previously, users that are not identified on X25 networks, they can perform reverse calling, but reverse calling and local calling only on the network you're connected in. And if you are authenticated, you can, of course, take in consideration all the security mechanisms. You can dial into every X25 node in the world. And brute force attacks, they're noisy, they're non-elegant, yet they are the most reasonable manner and the most popular manner to hack NUIs. And there are some NUI crackers, I think Looking Hacker by THC, Van Houser THC, it does well. There is a software called X25 Brew by I know some guy from Italy, or do it yourself. You can craft one using Telemate scripting or something, or Telix or Minicom. It worked fine. X25 hacking, like scanning for validly new NUAs, it's the most popular way of finding potential targets. Here are some tools. The famous ADM X25 by Antilove, and the other ones, they're not that well known, but this one's the most popular in the computer underground. And West mnemonics names are quite well popular as well. Mnemonics, it's how can I say, it's a mnemonic. I don't know. Like for example, you don't need to remember the whole NUA for some node. It has some kind of alias. So you dot, I don't know, Ekoparty. You will dive into the Ekoparty node on the X25 network. And exploitation concepts, they're a little bit different, but things seem to be changing. What I'm saying is that there's no TCP/IP stack, for example. There is no, I've got my killer Apache zero-day exploit, and I'm gonna target him, like I'm gonna send him my evil payload and hack his Apache, or I'm gonna brute force his SSH. No, man, forget about it. All you have is only one communication channel, like something like this. So, like the most thing you have is like only a prompt or something. There's no other ports and all stuff. Forget about this concept, this TCP/IP concept of not TCP/IP, but this internet concept of exploiting things. But things seem to be changing. I'll talk about it later. And as countermeasures, disable reverse charging. You can slow down some of the attackers. Not all of them, of course. Especially the Russians. They're doing so many scans using reverse charging. Encrypt your connection to prevent data tampering, forgery, and all this nasty stuff that can happen in network mediums. Enable closed user group on the network. Closed user group is some kind of, how can I say, it's your telco, it's your telephone carrier firewall enforced. No, telecom enforced firewall. Sorry. It says which DTEs are authorized to communicate to you. So it's some kind of firewall for X25 networks. And the omnipresent recommendation: make sure your passwords are not weak, because most of the times you get only a password prompt. So, yes, make sure your passwords are not weak. Due to its lack of popularity, security is often neglected while it's still trapped. So, some critical infrastructure coordination systems are accessible through X25 networks, And most of the attackers playing around are not ordinary script kiddies, so be aware. Oh, I'm really sorry about, there's no banner, there's no screenshot, sorry. I got some of them, but I'm gonna update these slides and then send to the organization of the conference with a few banners or something of some, not government stuff. Some government banners, in Brazil, they're still using it. Dumpster diving, there's only one slide about it. It's the art of rummage through trash cans looking for valuable information. Sometimes you can find manuals, sometimes you can find internal memos, notes, and other stuff. And people think, no, it doesn't happen, man. Like, I worked in a company in 2 years ago. I won't say its name, of course. And there were lots of papers about projects and very important things of the company, of the project, software they made. And man, the security was lame. Anyone could enter no, I'm the pizza guy. They could enter and grab all the papers on the desks, for example, and no one would notice it. And also forgotten has been used by hackers and urban explorators, cartoneros. And paper shredding is the best countermeasure against it. And here's a little the quote: "Sometimes the greatest treasures are found beneath piles of trash." I was about to go trashing in the central office, but my mate didn't go with me, so I didn't. Sorry. Social engineering and password blessing. All tricks for a new dog. Social engineering is nothing but tricking someone to do something in your favor. It's not much. Everyone here knows about social engineering. And the human factor plays a key role on computer security as well. And the human stupidity, there is no patch for it. It's widely used by hackers, but also by fraudsters and other kind of criminals. For example, like Frank Mayor Jr., like the Catch Me If You Can movie. Social engineering was fundamental on most of Mitnick's and Kevin Poulsen hacks, for instance. Conclusions. Regarding hacking techniques, they may look outdated and inefficient. However, after thousands of telephone proposals, and it costed me lots of money, this presentation showed it's not true. There are still many mission-critical systems lying around on these kinds of obscure networks. Networks that are supposed to be secure only because they're isolated from the internet world. And most of the systems are very old ones. So you can go to the archives.org, grab some exploit on, rootshell.com, a 1998 exploit, and hack it. And old school hacking is not still only simple, but amazingly effective. It works, trust me. And there's something more than go hack, kid. And listen to Michael Jackson watching the Goonies or something to get into the mood of the 80s. Some acknowledgements, reference, links, and blah, blah, blah. Saludos a los hermanos en Ekoparty, Leonardo, Federico, Francisco, Hiba, Ata77 for being the... No, I'm not kidding, I'm a big fan, for being the inspirational soundtrack. Marvin Madsen for designing this beautiful slide for me. Rodrigo, where are you, man? Rodrigo, Domingo Montanaro, Felipe Balestro is not here, and UNC guys, and all the guys that came, all the people that came from Brazil with me, the journey here to Ekoparty. The guys of the Department Magazine staff, the former members of the RFDS Labs, and Godfault. Fiber Optic for being my old school consultant. And Iruatan, Paolo for keeping the old school alive, Robert Conley, Julio Alto, and Tiago Assunção, probably some of you know him. Raul Chiesa for sharing some ideas with me and his great paper and presentations on X25 security. And to you guys, muchas gracias for your patience. Questions? Now it's time to bash me.
When you say it still works, how many hits did you get?
How many what?
Hits. How many?
Hits. So many. I've got a very large log file from Tom Log. And a friend of mine, he has lots of X25 scans. And trust me, there are many things. I don't know how many hits. Honestly, I don't know. It's not that many compared 10 years ago, but there are still many hits. Anyone else? Questions? Anyone else? Are you guys still sleepy? So, it's okay. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.